Hello and welcome to the Cheeseman Podcast. This is Brendan, your host for the show. Joining me to look back on a spirited, eventful 3-3 draw at the Etihad. First up, she was at the game, is Becky. How you doing, Becky?
I'm very well, thank you. As I said on last week's show, that there may have been some shandies involved. There were some shandies involved. And it's been quite a slow day today, but I'm fine. I'm here. Had a lot of fun. There's still grey and bits of the game I don't really remember. I've watched Match of the Day twice, and there's still bits of it I don't remember. But yeah, I'm looking forward to you helping me remember what happened. I can tell you what happened in the ground. On the pitch, not so much.
Wow, plenty. I can't wait to hear what it was like being there. Plenty to get through, as you said. We are going to try and keep it to an hour. Also joining us, HG. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's nice to start the week without losing. So I was wearing my Tottenham top to work today and enjoying all the nonsense from the 13-year-olds trying to give it large. But I think they were slightly impressed that we didn't lose. So it should be fun to talk about it.
Indeed. Also joining is Gibbo. It's been a while. How you doing, mate?
Yeah,
Gibbo,
I haven't been on for a while, mate. So looking forward to this. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. We're good.
Yeah.
Is it still getting used to it again, are you?
Yeah.
Great. Well, there's plenty to get through.
Mate, the text playing me up, but yeah.
Okay. We may have a bit of a delay with you, Gibbo, so maybe try and log out and log in again. We are live on YouTube, so please, if you are following, do hit the like button, stick your comments in, and we will get to the best ones, of course, as we always do. This is also going out as a podcast as well, so those who prefer it audio will get their fix after I've edited and published tonight. So let's get into it, guys. That lineup, we knew from the press conference when Ange was asked about bringing Eric Dyer in for the height, bearing in mind we are coming up against Haaland, and he was pretty adamant. He's like, no, we're sticking with it. HG, your initial thoughts on not having any centre-backs against Man City?
It's the way to go. This is what we'll do from now on. Other teams will copy us as long as we nobble their centre-backs first. Yeah, like the defence is what it is. I don't think any of us expected different. I know that Dyer wasn't involved at all, which perhaps surprised a few, and there were rumours I think he got injured beforehand, which I'm not sure I believe, but that back four started the last game. I don't think anyone should have been surprised to see them again, but I'm always a bit weirded out when I see us in a 4-2-3-1 because I just don't think we play that formation, and I see it bandied around all the time. But yeah, it was I think pretty much what was expected. Yeah,
well, like I said, it's the fluidity. I think that's that we have with Ange. The good news, Becky, was the return of Bissouma. The bad news was he came in for Bentancur, who's sadly out, as we know now, till February. So it was good to have Eve back. What did you make of the lineup? Were you confident?
It's always a tricky one, isn't it? I've got friends here that are City fans, and they're like, "Oh, Spurs is our bigger team. I hate playing Spurs." It's like, well, it's like we said this season, anything goes. We thought it would be an eventful game. It was an eventful game. It didn't disappoint. Both two attacking teams. It was great to hear Ange say on Friday, we are going to go out, and he said something like, "I'm not just employed to beat City. We're going to play the way we play, and if it doesn't work, then." We'll try again and I'll take the blame and that sort of thing, giving them that kind of freedom. But yeah, it is what I expected. It's just a shame Bissouma came back and didn't really have the best game. There were a few times, weren't there, where he was kind of he lost the ball and things. So it's a shame. We've talked before about after the Luton game, it's just not quite come back himself. But yeah, overall, in terms of the lineup, it was. When I heard, I think on Friday that we were playing in that kit as well, I really don't like that kit. I still don't really like it. I know we'll see like these reels now of Kulusevski's goal for years to come, and it will always be in that weird pinky brown kit.
Yeah, it's funny that my daughter saw the kit and was like, "Oh, that kit looks really nice. It looks purple," and I'm like, "Not up close, it doesn't." And then they cut in and they showed it. She's like, "Oh, no, yeah, it's like what is that brown?" Like baby poo brown, just it's a grim kit. It really is.
Yeah, it's up there with the scuba diver kit from last season as well. But I think we've done okay in this kit. I mean, we lost to Fulham in this kit, but I think other than that, we've done relatively well so far. So it's not going to be the old Alex Ferguson grey kit excuse. It does take getting used to.
Yeah.
Gibbo, do you think that that this 3-3 draw, as we've said, that Ange wasn't going to change ways? Do you think this was vindication for him? And is this probably, bearing in mind the injuries, bearing in mind everything, probably the most significant result so far of the Ange era?
Yeah, mate. If you're going to play it your way, you're going to go out and do it against City with a patched up team. Tells you everything, doesn't it? That's what he's all about. We're not changing for anyone. And I'm sort of just fed up with Sky and that saying, how naive and stuff he is. That's how we play. There's nothing wrong with how Spurs play. That's what we do. So, yeah, he goes out there, he puts that team, he go into that system and they play his way. So, fair play to him.
And HG, pretty fierce starts to the game.
We're having tech issues again.
A bit, yeah. it cut out a couple of times there. HG, that start, phonetic
I'll move downstairs, lads. I'll move downstairs.
We pretty much scored from our first attack, and I love that the Brazilian commentary here was like, that wasn't just a counter attack, that was the textbook of a counter attack, and it was a really good break, wasn't it?
It was, because especially initially I was pretty impressed with Bryan Hill doing that quick turn, getting the ball to Kulusevski, and then subsequently very annoyed that he just blasted it upfield, didn't seem to pay any attention to where it was going, and frankly, Doku should have got there first. But when Son got to it, you thought, okay, we're on here. And I was yelling, shoot. I didn't want him to pass it. I know that perhaps passing was the better option, but I just knew that Sonny's going to go for it. And yeah, just to see it hit the back of the net, well, of course, I scared both my wife and daughter, who have no idea really what's going on when the football's going. They just know that I'm in the room. But it was a brilliant start. And this is what Spurs do, especially at City. I mean, it's weird that, we've lost all these games while scoring first, which I know it gets mentioned a lot, but I almost forget that happened. But so to go ahead, you just thought, okay, it's going to be one of those games where Spurs do something that I'm not expecting. I know last year I think we went 2-0 up and ended up losing, but you just know this is what Spurs do. We always seem to score at the Etihad, and we tend to score quite early.
And always Sonny as well. Sonny loves a goal against City. Becky, what was it like there at the ground? Where were you sitting, at an end or along the sides?
In the corner, so near the kind of the corner flag. So we couldn't see live, or I certainly couldn't. It's the interception that Hill made from their corner. But watching it back, yeah, that, like I said at the top of the show, the kind of idea that he's allowing them to have that kind of freedom. The nice turn he makes, passes it to Kulusevski. Kulusevski hits it to Son, and then that kind of burst of pace from Son made Doku look really, really, really poor. Obviously, he's great, but not in that position. He's zoomed past him, and then I was thinking he's going to pass it, because that's the kind of goals we've scored this season. They've come from Johnson, they've come from Kulusevski, and they've come across the middle. But yeah, Sonny hit it hard, and Ederson didn't do very well. From where I was, I couldn't quite see it go in because there was someone's head in the way. But yeah, it was absolutely carnage when it went in, because, like you said, Sonny likes a goal against City, and it was just, yeah, the atmosphere was so good from all the banter with the away fans next to us, and yeah, it was just great. And Sonny turns up in the big games, and he's done it again.
Yeah. Well, he did do it again a couple of minutes later, HG, but not at the right end. And we knew this was going to be an issue. We knew set pieces, when we don't have that height or organisation of a central defender that a Romero would bring, or even Eric Dyer or Van der Ven. So it was just so disappointing that they equalised so quickly afterwards.
Yeah, and I think we'd have been disappointed had City gone and scored. I mean, they'd already had a couple of chances, I feel like, even before we scored, or they certainly had loads of the ball, and we weren't really troubling them. And so the fact that the equaliser came in the way it did was annoying, but you just had a feeling that this was going to be it would have happened at some point, right? I do think that City would have got an equaliser at some point. It just didn't need to happen in the way that it did. And yeah, you do. You kind of you sit back in your seat and you think, here we go again. But I mean, that's just Spurs. There is no consistency apart from the fact that we're unpredictable, and so it's you just kind of strap in and hope that you're going to come out at the end of it feeling pretty good. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was unfortunate for Son. He doesn't really know what's going on. He's just trying to get to the ball, and of course, he found the corner like he always does with his wrong foot. But it was, those are those things that. I mean, I feel like they always go against us. That it happens all the time, which clearly it doesn't. But you just think, all these other teams, they somehow manage to shank it past the post, or they get away with stuff. And I know that's not true. I'm sure Spurs
Someone
get
did
away
it this
with
week in the
stuff too.
Champions League, and the first thing I said to Jack was, if that had been Spurs, that had gone top corner. I think it might have
Really?
been Maguire. He kind of shanked one and it just went round the post. And I was like, that would have gone in if it was Spurs. The thing about watching it back for me today is the Celso gives away another needless free kick. And I think we talked about how he did that for the Villa goal and maybe for the Wolves as well. So that he needs to stop that, because watching it back, Udogie loses it, doesn't he? Because I'm throwing, and then Lo Celso makes the foul, and then they get the free kick. And it's those sort of things that consistency and playing regularly hopefully will get tidied up a little bit, because it didn't need to happen. But I agree with HG. It was never going to stay 1-0, but it's just little things like that that are a bit annoying.
Well, wasn't it against the Goons? Romero stuck out a leg. It wasn't from a free kick, I think, but it was almost similar. Where it's just it hits him, and just goes in. And like I think, we always remember these instances. But
Van der Ven's had one, hasn't he? Didn't Van der Ven have one on the first game as well? That was
we've had a few deflected going, haven't we? Like, there was one. Was it the Brentford one where he kind of went to block it and it ended up deflecting it and bounced it over the keeper? And then, I mean, even was it Fulham in the Cup? Was another own goal, right? So we've had a few. Like why always Spurs? You know.
And that first half, Gibbo, we were under the cosh a bit. There was the Doku chance that hit the underside of the bar and thankfully fell the right way side of the line for us. There was Alvarez as well, who did he hit the post? It was they had chance after chance, and Haaland's miss, Jesus. But it was squeaky bum time that first half.
Yeah, we were under the cosh a bit, weren't we? A bit like me with this internet tonight. We were sweating, weren't we? Trying to get it right. But I mean, it was backs to the wall stuff, wasn't it? But we kept trying to play our football, didn't we? And I mean, I was sat here watching it. Like Becky says about trying to remind her of it. She doesn't want to be reminded of that first half through my eyes and what I was like here watching it, you know. We were. I mean, that miss by Haaland, I think partly that's why he got so shitty at the end, because he missed a couple of sitters. Didn't have the best game, did he? But I thought that was in. When it left his foot, I thought it was in. Yeah. But brilliant when it went wide. But yeah, we were under the cosh, but we held in there, didn't we? We were only 2-1 down at half time, still in the game.
Like I don't know how anyone else feels about this, but like, you know, had we been doing that under some other manager, I think we would have been screaming our heads off, like, Spurs, stop effing about, like, boot it upfield, or just like get rid of it. Like, if in doubt, all that nonsense, all those things that we were taught as kids. And yet, because Ange comes out and brazenly says, this is what we're going to do, there's a kind of comfort in knowing that it's going to be a roller coaster. Like, we're not even hiding the fact that this is going to be painful to watch and this will hurt us at times. But there was a clip going around today of, you know, Jamie Carragher, I think, having a go at how we were playing football and how it was never going to work, as it worked, as we managed to play through.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, that kind of football from Spurs, when was the last time we really saw that? Right, the ability to actually play through teams and around teams. It hasn't happened. Certainly not because the manager's been coaching it. Right, it's happened because, you know, players have been good enough to do that. But personally, I'm okay with this idea of, like, you know, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a ride, and, you know, even if we lose, it shouldn't be a negative event for us. You know.
And Becky, at the game, like I said, you're in the corner. I don't know how elevated you were, but what do you make of our line? Because it seemed first half our line, we weren't playing quite a high line. We were playing quite a line close to the area, which led to their second goal. Here's the stats here from the game. So 12 attempts on goal from City to our 2. 2 on target, obviously the 2 goals to our 1, which is our 1 goal. But did you feel that the first half wasn't exactly Ange ball, that we weren't really sticking to his principles?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just remember thinking, once they got the second one, they're just going to go and roll us over now. And it could be 3 or 4. And people put in the chat about it could have been 3 or 4. It should have been Haaland's miss. He just snatched at it, I think, didn't he? And yeah, there was lots of watching. Obviously, that's the So they were attacking this end. That's right. And then there was lots of kind of arm waving and Royal and Davis kind of, saying, no, it was yours and it was mine. There was a bit of that. So you could see that there was something kind of bubbling away. Was Vicario saving the first half as well? That one when they were sort of playing it out, wasn't it? And then someone intercepted it and then he made that amazing save.
That was
so
second half.
What was it, second half? But there was lots of kind of like, well, that was you and that was you, that sort of thing. But people have put in the chat, Ange come out, didn't he, last night and said that he needed to just tell them to play the way we play. We've got to put our heads up. We've got to keep going. But equally, it's 4-1 at half time. It's a completely different match. But we've said this about the games that we've been unlucky at. We haven't taken our chances and then they've come back to us. And that's exactly what's happened to City. We should have seen Chelsea away. We should have been better at Villa and taken our chances. So it was actually quite nice to be on the receiving end of it, which is why I said to my friend today, when we were leaving the ground, the Spurs fans were all so happy. They were just so smiley because I don't think anyone expected that kind of game, to have that kind of belief and that resilience. And that was what everyone was so happy. And I saw someone tweet today that, we've had 1 point in 4 games and he's just so positive about Spurs and he's really looking forward to games. And, when you've lost 3 and drawn 1, you don't tend to feel like that with your team. So it's there's just lots of things that are changing. And like you just said then, the way Hill was sort of celebrating, I think there is that kind of team unit. It's much clearer that it's a team. And I think the Celso is one of those players that's really benefiting from that as well. But yeah, so going back to what you said, when he said he wasn't going to have Dyer to play Haaland, then we knew that he wasn't going to change the way the high line was going to be. It's just sometimes it didn't quite work.
Do you think that's it then, HG, that the sort of lower line that we had, the low block, was forced as opposed to a plan, bearing in mind City's attacking prowess?
Yeah, I never really felt like it was a low block per se. Just that they had the ball, and so therefore we were defending. And we still have a lot of defenders that like to retreat, right? They might start high up the pitch, but their natural inclination is to not go and win the ball. It's to try and just bide some time and allow players to get back, which in some respects does make some sense. But it's a weird occasion because the players are obviously trying to do something different. It's not natural to them to do that way, especially when they know they're playing, let's face it, the European champions, league winners the last 3 seasons. Even if it's not the City of last season, which obviously was better than the one they are now, it's still City. They will have the ball. You have to expect that they will attack you. And I think it's just natural to them being right. How can we keep things tight? How can we make sure that they don't have space to really get down the middle? And for some of that first half it worked, but when City got through, they had the chances, and they should have blown us away in that first half, and we didn't really get things sorted, and we weren't really tight enough. But I suspect the change that was made at halftime is probably the one that Ange actually it's not necessarily the defenders that are the problem. It's that the fact that they're playing through the midfield very easily, and we have to shore that up a little bit. So it's we can sit here now and say that, okay, everything worked out well in the end. But I do think that Ange has probably figured out that you can't just play your most attacking team in every game, right? Like that might work for half the league games, but for the other half, there's a chance that you need to be a bit more pragmatic. And it doesn't mean you have to play a different style of football. You can still try and be aggressive, and you can still try and win the ball, but just understand that maybe the better platform is to have a more solid midfield, because I feel like Ange's side lives and dies by the strength of its midfield. If it's working well, then the team work well, and we look great going forward. And if it just isn't functioning, we struggle, because the back line, especially now, just can't handle the pressure that's forced upon them. So
was it an element of pragmatism that brought on Pierre-Emile Højbjerg in that second half? And it did shore things up, as we saw from the stats, the difference between the first half and second half. Certainly in terms of goal attempts, we were much more at the races second half. And like you said, HG, it was about sort of keeping the midfield, trying to hold on to the ball in midfield that gave us a bit more stability. And Becky, we've seen this before with Ange, that he brings on Højbjerg later on in games just to see the game out. He brought him on at half time this time. What was your reaction? What was the feeling there at the game?
I didn't realise he was playing until about 55 minutes. So, but yeah, so obviously watching back still that he came on for Hill at half time. Yeah, it's the same. Like I said, I know I'm remembering things in different orders, but one of the chances that they had, I remember Højbjerg ended up being like the last man, and he was trying to make the interceptions. So yeah, it's good that he's doing that early, and he's seeing that we've got to change it. We're 2-1 down, because otherwise, I said to my friend yesterday, City have got some weird stat that they've got like the most they've won the most second halves. So they come out stronger. So Ange had realised that and thought we've got to make some changes. It wasn't quite working. What was really nice to think as well is thinking about the whole game is that obviously we were with Charleston and Donley on, and he was still going for the win. And I remember turning around yesterday when we equalised, and the away end was still full. People didn't leave at 82 minutes when Grealish scored. They stayed because they have this feeling that there's still time to do something about it, and they will still keep going for it. But yeah, going back to what you said about Højbjerg, we've said before, he's better when he's used in a defensive sort of manner. I was just reading the comments then when you're talking about the effect on Bissouma, and is it because of the centre backs being different, and that's what's affected him. And it'll be interesting to see how that changes on Thursday when Romero is back. But yeah, I think they're all, like I said before, they're all becoming a squad now, and they're all having to step up. The injuries have exacerbated that, but the fact that people are having to do a job, because by bringing Donley on, it shows that he's not just playing people just for the sake of it. He's doing it for a reason.
Well, one player that stepped up, HG, was the scorer of the second goal, Giovanni Lo Celso. So it was a great hit as well. It's good. I think he's showing his use, obviously, with Maddison's injury. He's the only sort of player that we have in that position that has technique, that can take a shot from the edge of the area. What did you make of his performance, and obviously the goal he scored?
I feel like he played pretty well. I mean, I remember being disappointed that Skip came on, because I think it was 2 at the time, and I understand he's probably very tired of Celso, but I wanted to go and try and win the game, and it did feel like an overly defensive substitution, which felt worse when Man City scored a few minutes later. Not that there's anything to do with Skip, obviously, but just this kind of like, we want to win the game and we want to go and do things, and Lo Celso had been a massive part of getting us level. The goal was just extremely well taken. It's just nice to see him play in the opposition half. That first half, none of our players really did. It was very difficult to get us up in numbers and for Lo Celso to affect the game where he wants to. But again, that second half, that goal came from pretty much nothing. Like Ben Davies wins a header quite, gets in front of the ball over Haaland, and it falls quite quickly to Lo Celso. And from then, it's just a simple run from Son to take the defender away, and it opens up for him. But again, we're all sitting there thinking, we know he can find the corner. That's the funny thing. Unfortunately, we've just not seen him do it in a Spurs shirt, but we know that it's in there somewhere. He plays so well for other teams. Why is it not happening for Spurs? And 2 starts, 2 goals. It looks great. I said probably even a couple of weeks ago when he didn't start against Wolves, he's gone in January. If he can't get a game when we're missing all these midfielders at Wolves and he's not starting, he's going to be gone. And, I say thankfully, that Wolves game was so poor that he had to start against Villa, did really well, starts again. And now it almost feels like he's the first name in that midfield, because no one really, is Bissouma really going to keep playing this way? And it's going to be their third. Is it going to be Højbjerg? Is it going to be Kulusevski? How are Spurs going to operate? But Lo Celso, he's the first midfielder you're going to put down now. So it's this season, man. The roller coaster effect is there, because Lo Celso was what, 5th, 6th central midfielder choice probably at some point, and here he is being the guy that is scoring goals and helping the team get points. I still don't think he'll be here past the summer, but given the situation we are, I don't see him going now in January. And really, 2 weeks ago, I thought that was almost inevitable.
Yeah. Well, I think he's in his final year, is it? Or 18
No,
months?
I think 2025. So
Okay.
He'll have 1 year left in the summer.
Okay. But yeah, good to see. Like I said, we had that option, and it's a player that we forgotten about, but just wasn't really in our thinking. Certainly at the start of this season, last season he was out on loan as well. So it was a welcome.
But isn't it interesting to see that, this time last year he'd been banished by Conte, he was on loan somewhere else, and and suddenly all the stories came out about what a bad egg he was, and at the time it was like, hang on a second, this just seems a bit too convenient. Like, he's been at the club for 4 years by this point. Like, surely that bad egg would have shown itself by that point. But everyone was willing to agree with it because he'd not done very well for Spurs. So it was like, okay, well, you can tar him with that because no one's really going to argue the toss. But if he really was that way, Ange wouldn't have him around. Like, we know enough about Ange to know that he doesn't want bad eggs. Doesn't matter how good they are. He said it himself. He doesn't want them around. And now, I mean, yeah, it's taken, 11, 12 games to really see him. And I know he was injured for some of it. But, he was kept. He was part of the 25 that Ange wanted to be around. And in pre-season, we saw that he was being trusted a little bit. It was, I think, probably quite surprising that we hadn't seen him before. I think the Wolves game, as I said, especially, that was the chance we thought, Maddison's out. We can't do Bissouma, Højbjerg, Sarr. It's too defensive. That's what we went with. And we struggled as a team. But yeah, it's nice to see some return on the investment because we've waited a long time and there are lots of reasons why it hasn't really worked for him. But now I feel like we're playing a system that could finally see the best from him.
Paul Muir puts in the comments as well, 100% pass completion yesterday. So encouraging signs, certainly with West Ham coming up on Thursday. One player that the HG mentioned there, Gibbo, was the, I don't know if it was his shoulder. I don't really care what part of his body he used, but Kulusevski, for me, he's been the unsung hero for this season. I know that this was his first assist, I think, for the Son's goal at the beginning, which I found surprising, bearing in mind the effort he puts in. But we're so lucky to have Decky, and he's so young as well. We keep forgetting that.
Same age as Foden, isn't he? Same age as Foden, same age as Saka. Doesn't get spoke about like them, but yeah, he's a great player. I mean, I was saying he needed to start adding a few goals, and he started to add that now. If he was just had that extra yard of pace, he'd be unbelievable. But yeah, brilliant player, brilliant footballer. I think we said in our group, didn't we, HG, that you could count him as a midfield player if you needed to in that midfield three, because he's gone in there and he's done a great job. But yeah, coming in at the back post, I mean, he got in there with purpose, didn't he? Flattened Ake, got his head and his head, shoulders, knees and toes on it, whatever, and bang, top corner. But that's what you want. That's what you need that's what we need from the wide players. We don't want to just be relying on Son to score the goals. And he did that, and his decision making is getting better, and he's just contributing, and that's what you want. And I don't feel we have that on the other side as much. But yeah, it was a great goal. I mean, he's been superb all season, really. I mean, he just never stops, does he? He's like a machine. He keeps going. He's strong, and just sometimes you look at him and you think if he just had that extra yard of pace to beat a man, he'd be even better. But great player, great goal. And yeah, we're lucky to have him. He's a fantastic player.
The other thing about that goal was the cross from Johnson as well, wasn't it? That to kind of, didn't he beat Walker as well? I don't really remember that at the time, but I've watched it back.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the cross, I genuinely thought it was Richarlison. I said to the person next to me, that's Richarlison who's jumped up in the air. And then Richarlison is the one who kicks the ball and doesn't it into the away end. And they were like, it was Kulusevski. Like, what? Kulusevski's headed the ball in. What? So to be fair, I thought it was Richarlison. But yeah, so it's just like a great cross from Johnson, I think. He looked really, really quick and on it. And Hill was knocked off the ball a few times, wasn't he? Still, but
yeah. I mean, I'm going to be somewhat controversial here because that's what I do. Right? But that first half, I'm not being funny. I felt like Brian Hill had a better first half than Brennan Johnson. I feel like Brennan Johnson is very much on the periphery of things, doesn't really get involved, doesn't show for the ball. Now, maybe Spurs play down the left more than we play down the right. I think that's kind of been proven as well in the Villa game. It was always going down Brian Hill's side. So maybe it's just something that we end up doing, or maybe we're not trying to do it. But like Johnson, outside of that cross, I don't remember him being involved apart from me yelling at him to get back. Like, he's the fastest player we have, but you only ever see that speed when he's going towards goal, not defending. And sometimes you need that. Like, if we're going to play the way that we play, where players move positions all the time and you have to be aware, to watch him, like, because Johnson jogging strikes me as being as fast as most people run. but the desire's not really there, and you start wondering like, why was it Brian that went off at halftime? Because to me, if you're basing it on what you saw, it could easily have been Johnson. But is it a combination of Ange just paid lots of money for him? Is it a combination that Kulusevski is obviously more comfortable down the right, and so like but we could have just taken Johnson off. It would have been a straight switch then. It's just weird. Like he's clearly got loads of talent, and it's it's still game 6 for him. It's really early on at Spurs, but when you see the way again in the biggest games, we saw it in the Arsenal game on his debut. Like he tracked back, but that both he and Udogie allowed Saka to get the shot off, and it's like what are you doing when you're tracking back? It's a minute complaint, right? It's not really a complaint, but it just feels as if I haven't seen that much that often from him. We don't get him the ball, which is fair, right? That we should do better at that. But he doesn't seem to be as involved or want to be as involved when the going gets tough. I don't know what he was like at Forest enough to know if that's a common thing with him, but it does. I don't know. Like I want to see him. Like I want attacking midfielders who are good going forward. We all know that. But when you play the way we do, and you see that it doesn't seem to be there with him, then it's frustrating to me.
Is it more
Last
since
minute,
he's
though,
gone on the
HG,
right? Go on.
So like the last that he got the ball, got it arguably the best fullback in the world. I mean, getting past Kyle Walker is difficult. And in the last minute, when we're pushing for a goal, he got the ball at his feet and he ran at him, got a yard of space, put a good ball in with his wrong foot. Why can't he do that earlier in the game? I feel like he gets the ball a lot of the time. He got the ball and he had a bit of space. He's quick, and even from a standing start, but he just looks to pass it back.
Is that because he's on his right, though? That's what I was just going to say. Is this kind of not a drop-off, but this kind of change since we've had to enforce him going on the right and Hill going on the left? Because like you said then, we started the season with Johnson on the left, Son in the middle, and Kulusevski on the right, didn't we? And now that's changed. Is that possibly why as well?
And the thing is, really early on in the second half, when he'd switched over, he got the ball, he ran at the defence, he cut inside and he had a shot, and it was well hit, straight at the keeper, but you're thinking, why have we seen none of that? Like, it doesn't make any sense, because I don't remember him playing that much down the left for Forest. He always struck me as being very much almost a traditional right-sided player. And against Villa last week, there was one moment where he had Luca Dean on toast. He was just zoomed past him as if he wasn't there. And you're like, we have this ability, but I don't know why we're not seeing it. And again, I don't necessarily blame him so much. The team obviously have to get him the ball in dangerous areas, but I feel like there's so much more there. And the cross at the end, I suppose, if anything, just makes you want it more. You know that he's got something. I mean, Ange isn't going to spend the money on a player like that if he doesn't think he can deliver. But it's just when we don't have that many attacking options, to see someone that just not get involved. Again, maybe I'm being harsh. I haven't seen it back. I haven't seen the highlights. But at the time, it didn't feel like he was involved that much.
He had a better game than he did against Villa. And I think we do need to give him time to bed in and see something in him that he wants to work with. He did have, as was mentioned in the comments, he did skin Vardiol in the first half, the one that Diaz cut out. But it's these moments. He needs to have pitch in front of him to run at with the ball. There's a player there. We just need to utilise him the right way. I know we mentioned Bissouma before, but HG, would you put him at fault for the Grealish goal? Because he kind of, no one was helping him out. He didn't really have many options, but you'd expect him to sort of have turned, at least sort of knowing that there's 3 players around him, and try and find someone behind him. It just looked a bit high risk in that part of the pitch.
I mean, like if Ange is going to blame Ange, can I blame Ange? I mean, obviously, deep down, I do think that Bissouma could have passed it wide to Udogie and just chose not to and tried to go through the middle. But that's what we do, right? Like, if he gets the ball past those 3, then the break is on. I mean, like, those are the risks that it appears we're willing to take. So, yes, with my non-Ange hat, it's a poor decision, right? Like, it's unlikely you're going to be able to nutmeg 3 people at once. However, this is who we are, right? I don't want to blame. I want to try and see. I want to get everyone playing better. I mean, that's what I want to see, obviously. But yeah, when teams score, like, I mean, do I really blame Son for scoring an own goal? No. Do I really blame Davies for following the runner for Foden's goal? No, I mean, like you do. It was just really well done by City, and so it's sometimes that felt the biggest mistake. It did feel the big, and I'm sure Bissouma knows that himself because it took two touches, two passes, and they've got pretty much an open goal to score from.
Puts his I saw him like that with his hands on his head when they scored, so he was like doing that.
So, but I don't like this. This is what we want to see from our midfielders. This is it's just we got beaten because the City players are good. Maybe he does that next week again, or against West Ham, or against Newcastle. I mean, they're both decent teams, but it won't always be punished. But yeah, with 10 minutes to go, I think at some point you're thinking we've got to kind of hold on to what we have. But I don't know, like Ange would blame himself, not Bissouma. So I suppose we should all do the same.
Yeah, we just got to hope that he shakes off this sort of funk that he's in, as Becky mentioned, since the Luton sending off. That he, because I always thought it was just because he had the card hanging over his head that he wasn't as committed, sort of with that in the back of his mind. He's got that out of the way now, so hopefully, with the run of games that we have over Christmas, he just gets that rhythm back and becomes the player that he was at the start of the season for us.
But Bren, he's like is consistency one of the issues that he has, because when we were raving about him early in the season, if he played like that every week, week in, week out, he wouldn't be at Spurs. He would have gone somewhere else before we bought him. Now, he is a quality player, but, and I don't think he was great, but he was decent second half before he had that mare, before he lost the ball in there. I thought he was good second half. He was getting on it. And he was taking it in tight areas, and he was starting to play better. And that was an absolute stinker. But he was getting ribbed last night. And people say, should we? He shouldn't play. He should be dropped. And that in our best midfield, he walks in. When Bentancur's back, it's him, Bentancur, and Maddison all day long. Yeah. And with better players around him, I don't want to knock the players that were playing yesterday, but with the full team around him, he will be better. But all players lose the ball now and then. We got him out of jail, but you're right. But I just think consistency with Bissouma might be one of those things that I think you're going to have times where he's not bang at it. I just think that's part of his makeup.
I mean, I think in the first half, when I think it was Emerson Royal lost the ball, again, he's thinking the last line of defense, he loses the ball, and within two passes, Alvarez has hit the post. And obviously, we'd be having this conversation about Emerson had he been idiotic and lost the ball, and then Man City go forward and score. It is kind of down to Man City that is the reason that we're not talking about Emerson. We're talking about Bissouma. But you hope that the decision making that is necessary for Ange Ball, and I mean, really for any successful football, the players have to make good choices regularly. That will hopefully only improve. There are times and places, and maybe the last 10 minutes of a game away at the champions is the time to be. It's okay to take a safer option. Like, no one's saying kick it back to Vicario at every opportunity, but I think when he got the ball, the ball to the left back was on. Maybe there wouldn't have been much on for the left back, but still, that's okay. But to lose it centrally in that way, again, and not only did he lose the ball, but those three players all ran on past him, so he's out of it. We were massively outnumbered, and obviously, City took advantage. But this is who we are, right? I mean, I'm copying Ange now, but this is what we're going to do, and we will get punished at times, but hopefully, when things are. When we've had more chance to have the same team, like it's really, the first 10 games we played basically the same team every game, and now it's been almost changes galore because of the situation. And so you hope that with the games coming thicker and faster, and that we're not getting many people back. So this team may well be our team. Certainly in attacking areas, this is what we're going to have. We'll have Romero come back for the next game, but that's it. Like all the other injuries are relatively long term.
No, Sarr's due back in the next couple of weeks, Ange said. So I think he might miss West Ham, but he said he should be back in training by the end of this week. So again, I think maybe that's been affecting Bissouma, and obviously the changes in central defence as well, because he is that sort of. Yeah.
No problems with Bissouma, is there? He's one of our better midfielders when he's at it. So there's no problem with him.
Just to tie up the game, the handbags at the end were hilarious. There was the decision by.
He's become a meme, hasn't he? That is like a meme
has.
now of everything. Hilarious.
Well, Haaland's face. I don't know. I always love my my 80s references. So, do you guys remember the film Labyrinth with David Bowie? Yeah. Do you remember the goblins? So it looks a bit like one of the. Or this is really weird. The scene with the two doorknobs, and one has the ring going through his mouth. He's one of them. That's his face. It's this strange sort of goblin Jim Henson, kind of face.
Rubber.
But it was a hilarious moment, Gibbo, was it? Because if I was City fans, I would be annoyed. It wasn't a guaranteed goal. I think maybe he was still getting the ball under control, but it was a bit of a gaff from the ref.
Yeah, he's had a stinker, and he's had an absolute. I think, no, to be fair, I'm not convinced Grealish would have got away anyway. I mean, like you're saying about Labyrinth, he looks like he's been told he's going to be dropped in the bog of eternal stench, doesn't he, friend there? But yeah, I'm not convinced he would have got away. But yeah, it was a bad mistake by the referee, but it is what it is, mate. Do you know what I mean? I think he's more pissed off that he's had two stinkers. He's had two misses, two big misses. They're not one. I don't think he's had a great game by his standards, and that's why he's got that look on his face.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
And if you've seen it as well, he stops off, doesn't he, and nudges like Lo Celso on the way past, and Lo Celso proper goes for him. I really like that.
Lo Celso shoulder barged him. That was Lo Celso shoulder barging him. Definitely. That's Argentine shithousery.
But he just brushed it off. If you watch it, Haaland's kind of like, yeah, whatever, and he's got like 4 or 5 paces past him before he turns around and then starts back on him. So Haaland just bounced off him.
Haaland then took to social media.
Yeah.
He ran on social media, didn't he?
I haven't seen that, but I didn't see this in the ground because it's obviously in the middle. And then, like obviously I've seen it all back since. But I agree with Gibbo. I just don't think he had a great game, and he's probably really gutted that in a game where he arguably had the weak defenders on him, he didn't really impact the game. It was different if he'd had Romero or Van der Ven. He didn't have. So from that point of view, he's disappointed. But watching it back today, it's very odd because I've said before, my eldest is a referee, and he goes to blow, doesn't he? And then he signals like play on, and then he stops, and that's the bit that's confusing. If say you watched it without any sound, he looks like he's playing advantage, and then he stops. That's the thing that would But it's no way. It's not like they weren't necessarily going to score. I think Vicario would have come out, oofed it to Son. So I don't think he would have necessarily reached anyway.
HG, what did you make of it?
I mean, that picture there is just, it's more symbolic of Man City and how they felt at the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, although he's clearly having a go at the referee, that's how they probably talk to each other afterwards, regardless of what happened in that particular episode. Like, they just, like, City should have won the game. They didn't win the game, partly because they took their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half too. Like 2-1 up, it probably felt like they had an extra gear or two if they needed to score against us. And it came back to bite them. And it's 3 draws in a row in the league now for City. I know that they're Chelsea away, Liverpool at home, and Spurs at home. They're games that City aren't guaranteed to win, but still, this is a major hiccup for them to drop 6 points in 3 games. So they're going to be annoyed, and whoever plays them on midweek is Villa, I think, will have a tough game. But then City will be without a couple of their players too. I think we're now seeing that City, if City really don't steamroller you have a very good chance. They should have beaten Liverpool, but Liverpool got a late equalizer. Same against Spurs. Actually, same against Chelsea, who's a last-minute penalty in that game. So it's those fine margins, and I suspect that they're just angry with themselves, and the referee took the brunt of it.
Where does this set us up now, Gibbo, in terms of the season? We've ended that run of defeats. I was fully expecting a defeat here. It's defeatist, perhaps, but I've been supporting Spurs for 35, 40 years, and I'm used to being disappointed. But it really does. Is it a vindication of Ange's philosophy that we're now going into the West Ham game or with a bit more confidence?
I mean, well, we should have, shouldn't we? I mean, apart from Wolves, where I thought we were poor, when you look at it, we were, a finish away. We missed a chance against Chelsea with 9 men. We should have could have come out with that with a point. We should have beat Villa. We had enough chances to win that game. I know earlier in the season we had results like against Sheffield United where we got them late on. We've gone to City. Most of us thinking it was going to be a lot. We were going to come off worse than we did, and I think that'll give them a bit of belief. So we got 2 home games now. Newcastle are obviously struggling with injuries. Very good team. It'll be West Ham's cup final, so they'll be all in for it. But they're 2 winnable home games. We got, and I think we'll. And at least we know now. No matter what happens, we're going to go to win them games. No matter who we've got on the pitch. And I think that like Becky will tell you, she's at pretty much all the games. The fans will be bang behind the crowd will be really going for it under the lights against West Ham. And then you look Forest away. We've just been to City and drew 3-3. That's a winnable game. Everton at home. Brighton away on the 28th will be tough. Then you're looking at getting into January and hopefully we'll have a couple of players back then and we'll bring a couple in. We've only got 2 league games in January, haven't we, I think? Looking at that. Yeah, so I think that if we can come out of that game now and we can sort of stay roughly where we are in the league with touching distance of the top 4, I think we're in pretty decent shape considering the obstacles we've got to come over with the injuries and the suspensions. So I think we can if we get 6 points in the next 2 games, 2 home games, 6 points, which I believe we can get, then I believe we're in. Come January, we can really push on for the rest of the season then.
Yeah, HT, how are you feeling? Because it was strange. Had we begun the season with a mixed bag, so win, lose, draw, then where we are right now, especially after drawing away at City, we should be feeling positive, but just because of the injuries, because we had such a good start and those run of defeats, it just feels a bit disjointed. But I still feel that we started the season well. We're in a really good position. The players will start to come back and we can finish the season strong.
I think that the biggest thing right now is that we're aware that when we have our best team, they are good enough to win every game, right? It's not as if we've had a similar level team and the results have been, I was going to say something German. They've been a bit, like wonky. That's not English. Well, you wouldn't say that. But just kind of unpredictable, right?
Yeah.
We've had some good results. I mean, again, I don't think all the early season performances were great, but we had some really good results, right? I mean, was it 8 wins in the first 10? That's title winning form, right? Since then, we've won none in 4, right? Which is clearly not. But we've still won over half our games. And I've always said that if you win over half your games, you have a chance of Champions League. And the problem with this season is that there are lots of teams that have done that. Newcastle have won over half their games, right? Despite all the injuries that they have. Man United have won over half their games, and they're rubbish. So, like, you have this idea that, like, I do think, I always thought that we would be better in the second half of the season. And I never thought it would be because all of our good players are coming back from injury. But there was this idea that, if we got a good platform and we learned and we saw 1 or 2 games where we might see something from it, well, we've seen evidence that what Ange's trying to do will likely work, right? And I think that we all know deep down that the reason we lost that Wolves game is because of the players we had out. And the reason we lost that Villa game is because of the players we had out, right? So it's like we could have had our best team against City and still lost. That was a free hit, the freest of hits going. But I'm not concerned but I'm also taking it 1 game at a time because I understand that we could have another injury against West Ham, and then the next 5 games look suddenly a lot more difficult. But I think in what you showed, 4 of our next 6 games are at home. The best teams will win their home games. We need to get back to winning. We've lost 2 in a row at home. So like that, West Ham won't be easy. We know it's their cup final. Newcastle clearly are a tough team to beat. No matter how many injuries they've got, they are tough. But Everton, Bournemouth, like you'd look at that. Forest, you'd think, okay, there are clearly winnable games regardless of who we have fit or not. So I want to see. It's just nice to know that no matter who we have, like even if we are down to Dorrington and Donnelly and the rest of them, we are going to go and try and win that game. We are not going to be sitting there thinking, okay, well, because expecting defeat, I don't necessarily think is a bad idea. Like, there are games when I expect Spurs will lose, but I don't assume we will, right? I just think that based on the odds of the two teams and who's fit, we may well lose this one. But I know that no matter who's playing, we are good enough to score goals. We went to Man City and scored 4. I mean, okay, 3, but one of them. But we went there and scored 3 good goals. Like, they weren't flukes. We haven't had a penalty all season. Like, we are getting out there and putting balls in the net. And so it is a case of how many we can keep out. But not every team is going to score 3 against our makeshift defence. I believe that. I mean, Villa didn't. And Villa were a good side. And we were far better than them before Bentancur got injured. So you know that we have the ability to outplay almost or everyone on that list, frankly. It's just, can we take the chances that come our way? And hopefully what we saw against City will show itself again.
Becky, just moving on to West Ham. First of all, are you going to the West Ham game?
No. I
It's
can't
a
leave
Thursday.
school early enough. Yeah, it's 8:15 kickoff. I just can't get there because I'm doing all the Christmas shows. Even if I left school at like 3:30 straight away, I don't think I'd make it. So no, we're not at that. But that's the only one I'm not at up until after the FA Cup game, because that's at home as well now. So yeah, I'm at Forest. So
They're due a loss. West Ham. I'll look at that.
Yeah, they've not faced anyone decent recently. So, Becky, what do you think their lineup will be? This is what their lineup was in their last game against Palace.
is Bowen still injured? Is it?
No, he's
It
playing.
looks like it. Oh, is that
It's
top?
Antonio who's injured, isn't it? Has he been playing?
I thought
Antonio,
he said that
he likes a goal
Bowen
against us.
Yeah, it's like we said before. It's their cup final, so they'll raise their game. But I do like West Ham. Under the lights in that game, it does have like a different edge to it. I was thinking more for the Newcastle game. So with Pope getting injured, obviously they've got a lot of injuries, but I thought they've defended really well against PSG, and watching their game against United on Saturday as well. They've had lots of injuries that they still seem to kind of grind out results. So that's a tricky one for me, Newcastle, because obviously we thrashed them last season 2 seasons ago at home, and then they thrashed us last season away. So it's a tricky one, that game. But other than that, I think the vast majority of games, I think they're easily winnable. Like a few people putting in the comments, is Brighton a bit of a banana skin? They're very hit and miss this season, aren't they? Because of the Europe doing them really well, but in the league they're not. So yeah,
I feel like with Brighton, De Zerbi, like, when they get a good result, it tends to be the same players that are doing it for them. But because of all the games they've got, and I mean, he said himself, they lost a few of their better players. Dunk got sent off so like they haven't had a really solid side at any point. And he seems to be going more and more with the youngsters, which like people like Milner seem to be on the bench. I think they was on the bench in the last game. But yeah, like they like every team has the ability to beat Spurs. I mean, really, Sheffield United came very close to doing it, but I do think it's more about us. That West Ham team looks. I mean, how do I put this? Looks very foreign. I mean, I know our team is very foreign, but those West Ham games where it was always Mark Noble and Antonio, and I hate that kind of cliche, but like they made it difficult for you, and I don't know if I see that in that side. I haven't seen West Ham that much this season, but I don't look at Paqueta and think he's going to get involved. I think I saw a comment that was saying something along those lines that he likes Thursdays off. So, it's right there in front of me. It's a weird one because West Ham could play the game of their lives, but it's just nice to know that Spurs will create chances against anyone. And I truly believe that now. Like that Wolves game is the aberration, and I mean we weren't great at Palace either. I really that was the 2 goals from 1 shot victory, but generally speaking, we are improving going forward. And yeah, if we can score 3 from 4 like we did against City, we will win more than we lose for sure.
One thing Paul we mentioned is about Kudus. He does look a talent. He's looked sharp. A lot of the good stuff that I've seen from West Ham this season has been with him involved. So he'll be one of Paqueta. But yeah, they as always with West Ham, they're lacking a striker. So it's because I think they played Bowen up front against Palace. Well, they started at least. So it's it's always that one.
And it's funny that their striker they bought for big money 18 months ago. The Italian guy who came in and did very little for West Ham is banging them in Italian football again. It's just one of those things that West Ham and strikers. I mean, it's like Spurs buying central defenders. It just doesn't we don't buy them, and they buy so many, and it never really works out for them. But I mean that West Ham. I never like West Ham. Everyone knows I do not like West Ham. I hate them more than other London teams for sure. And it is that fear of like we're going to get done by a team that's clearly inferior. And to me, they are. They as good as they can be. They are not as good individually as we are. And now that we're an actual team, it feels like we can go out there and do something. But I'm always going to be nervous because it's West Ham. They were the first team to win at the new stadium. Of course, it was them. I just,
we take our chances. HG, we beat them. If we'd have put, we should have put Villa to bed early. Even Chelsea, we could have put them to, to bed before the chaos happened. So if we go at West Ham, it's all at Spurs. I know, like we've had this chat on our WhatsApp group, and it was a little bit unpopular, but I said we need to start taking the chances. I know we scored 3 on Sunday, but in a lot of our games, we've just not been clinical enough. So that's what we need to do against West Ham. If we start being more clinical, we will beat them. We are, like you said, we are better than them. And that's what we need to do Thursday night. Go at them, take our chances, and then, hopefully it won't be as chaotic as it was.
Do you think, guys, that we'll start with Højbjerg and that Brian will start on the bench? And that it'll be more the second half team against City rather than the first half?
To control the midfield more, isn't it? Mate, you know what I mean? Like I know what we're saying about Brian, but and he did show for the ball more than Johnson and stuff, but he sort of like he turns a bloke, and then once he tries to like take him on, they do just sort of he loses the ball, doesn't he? They just move into him, whereas Højbjerg gets hold of the ball and we have a little bit more control of the ball. Brian's just a little bit he's weak, isn't he?
I disagree. I think he'll start because he started that team at Villa and he started that team at City. So I think he'll start again and then bring Højbjerg on. I think he'll start where he is unless any injuries happen in the meantime.
I thought that like Kulusevski, get him out wide. If I think if you've got Bissouma, obviously Bissouma, Højbjerg, and Celso who's playing well, and then it just Kulusevski just gives you a little bit more out wide than Brian Hill does. So, but he'll do whatever he whatever happens. Whoever plays in those positions will be playing the same type of football, won't we? So, let's see. Let's just hope he gets it right and we smash him because I freaking hate West Ham.
Who do we think will drop out for Romero? I think it's going to be
Royale.
Yeah, I think Davis and Romero are going to play, aren't they? Yeah, I've seen lots of people read today saying that they think he'll drop Davis.
I just think for balance. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I feel like most of the season we've had a left footer and a right footer. Right. I mean, apart from that, Chelsea, when everyone got sent off, it felt like that's what's going to happen. It'll be Romero and Davis. I'd be surprised if it isn't. But again, I don't think Royal has done a terrible job at all. But we all know that Romero is a better defender, and so it makes sense that he'll go on his natural side. Because like if you were to switch, if it was Davis that went out, would you put Romero on the left to keep Royal on his natural side, or would that question is still up in the air? That it just makes we don't really enough. We're at the start of the season where we don't have time on the training pitch. That we're playing in midweek for the first time since when? I mean, what was it? Fulham was the last time we played midweek.
It was a Monday.
Yeah. See, exactly. Apart from those weird Friday Monday games, it's I think it's going to be Royal. That would be my guess.
I know time's pressing on, Brent, but so I was about to say it. Somebody's put it in the comments. I don't know if it's been mentioned while my computer was playing up, but how good has Porro been? I thought he was brilliant yesterday. Again, brilliant.
Yeah, Porro has been superb. He's got it's his attitude as well. I think he's the sort of guy you want on your team. He celebrates a tackle, and he's got all these things that we didn't think that he had when we signed him. He was signed as a wing back, and you're like, well, can he become an inverted fullback? And he's taken to it so well, and he's like, I think the most tackles of any player in the league or something like that, which I found so surprising. Bearing in mind we were concerned about his defensive ability, but yeah, he's been superb. Becky, what do you think?
Someone put in the comment earlier, didn't they, that the chance that I think it was when Doku hit the crossbar, that's because Davis was tracking and not Porro. So that shows how much he's improved, because we missed the fact that it wasn't Porro that was tracking back.
And it's funny. So when that happened live, I remember thinking, why the heck is Davis out there? Right? Where is Porro? Where is Johnson? Where are the people that should be down that side helping out? Well, like if you look at it, I'm pretty certain Porro is in Davies' position. He's playing the left centre back, waiting for the cross that isn't going to come in. So like that again felt more like this is how Spurs want to be. We will move people around and we will deal with it in the best way we can. We are not going to have that rigid formation that we're so used to seeing, that we almost expect from football teams. So yeah, like I think Porro, he said in the week, I can't remember where it was, but I think he said in the week that first game he played for Spurs was up at Leicester. And yeah, it might have been away at Leicester, and Tim Sherwood had a go at him, said he wasn't ready. And he admitted himself it was so fast for him that he knew, like, I have to adapt to this. I have to get used to this. I can't be a normal football experience for me won't be enough in this league. I have to do something different. And that's what he's clearly worked on. He's clearly got used to the idea that the game is so frenetic, that he doesn't have the time that he might have had before, and he's able to process things quicker to be able to do that. Because again, a lot of foreign players, when they come in and they haven't played Premier League football, they can't do it. And Porro has, he didn't start the first game at Brentford, but since then he's been an ever present, and he has been, as people have said, most improved player, one of our best players all season, because he seems to understand what Premier League football is now.
But he's a good footballer as well, isn't he? He can play. He's worked on the defensive side, but he can pass the ball. He gets it in tight areas. He can take it up the pitch. He's taking the corners, isn't he, and stuff like that, and free kicks. He's just a really, really good player, and I think it's gone. People are starting to notice, but I think he's gone a little bit under the radar. Obviously, Udog is obviously been really good as well, but I just wanted to give a shout out to him because I thought he was excellent yesterday.
No, absolutely. Yeah, well, I think after Maddison, he's probably our best set piece deliverer in terms of corners and free kicks. So thank God we had him on the pitch since Maddison's been gone. Quick few predictions. No one say 3-3, please. I don't think I could take another 3-3 with. Was it Lanzini? Was it that time?
Oh no! Don't bring that up, Ren, please.
That was the beginning of the end for
you said another 3-3, and I was thinking City. And he brought up like, oh, dude, why would you do that?
Oh, sorry, I was that guy. That was horrible, that game. All right, start with you then, Becky. Just brought back some trauma for HD.
I think we do. I know we all say West Ham get bad, but we haven't had a game like that yet this season. Everyone keeps saying if things start to click, we can seriously do a team, and it might be this week. I think confidence after yesterday is now so high. We've got Romero back, and as long as he plays it normally and doesn't go diving in like the Chelsea game, I think we've got enough to beat them quite well. I can't see them. People are putting about 4-4 and things. I can't see West Ham scoring that many. The good thing about it is, like I said, under the lights, the atmosphere, we'll score first. We'll then kick on. Even if we don't score first, I still think we'll kick on. We're not going to change the way we play. So, yeah, Sonny likes a goal against West Ham as well. So, yeah, I think it might be quite a lot. That's why I'm so disappointed I can't go. I think it might be like 4-1 to us.
4-1. Nice. Good luck.
3-2. 3-2 to us.
3-2. HG?
I'm going to say 2-0. I have a feeling, Van der Ven will be the only defender missing. Like 4 of the 5 will be fit. 4 of our best defenders will be fit. So, and I don't think Davies is that much of a weak link. He's clearly not as good as Van der Ven, but I think that we're good enough to keep it. If we play the football, and we'll keep the ball, West Ham won't be able to get near us, and maybe not a comfortable 2-0, but I think that the second goal will come in the last 10-15 minutes, almost like the Man United game. West Ham will have chances, but we will get the goals.
Cool. I'm going to go 3-1. I think I seem to always predict 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1. I think we're going to blitz them first half, bit of a nervy second, but we'll get the third late on.
Brent, have we had a 3-1 all season?
No. No, we haven't.
So we can guarantee if Brenda's always picking 3-1 that it may not happen. But I hope you're
never
right.
gonna happen.
Obviously, it's never going to happen. Okay, good.
Well, before we go, let me quickly mention our friends at footballprizes.co.uk. They have a super prize. It's a signed Ange Postecoglou framed Spurs shirt, which is very rare. There's not much Ange sort of memorabilia out there. Tickets are £3.16, and the draw will be made the competition ends on the 11th of December. If you're a patron, you do get 15% discount on your football prize tickets. So essentially that pays for your patron in itself. So as I said, there are 175 tickets available, an Ange Postecoglou shirt. So if you want to get on the Ange train, footballprizes.co.uk. And if you're a patron, you get a special discount as well. Right, we're going over an hour, so let's wrap up. HG, thanks for joining.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to Thursday night because I've got no work on Friday, so I can really focus on the Spurs. But yeah, it's been good to talk and not talk about defeat. It's been good.
Yeah, Becky, thanks for joining.
It's okay. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think I just said. I think the positivity's back. I think we've had 3 games where we could and should have won. So the fact that we had some lucky breaks yesterday, we were due some. And then we just need to kick on West Ham, I think. And everyone was sort of going into yesterday's game saying it's a free hit. It didn't matter if we didn't win. We really galvanised ourselves, and we need to kick on. Like I said, I think if things go our way, we could do really well on Thursday. So yeah, thanks for having me.
All good. So let's get that win back. Gibbo, thanks for joining.
Yeah, mate. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier on, but got it sorted out, mate. Looking forward to Thursday. It's my birthday, so hopefully Spurs will give me a little birthday treat.
Oh, well, happy birthday. We'll talk on Thursday, I'm sure. And do watch out. There will be a show coming out on YouTube on Friday and also a podcast coming out straight after the game. As I said, this one is going to be published as a podcast tonight, which you'll probably know because you're listening to it. And keep the faith, Spurs fans. Things are back on track. And as ever, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Oh, you Spurs.